The wanted poster assignment is fundamentally a text assignment with a graphic presentation, so mastering the basics of the type tool is essential for this project. We're going to start with the header section. The examples that we've given you have white text over black, which not only makes the text stand out, but anchors the elements to the page and creates a simple design balance if you repeat it in the footer section. It's important that you create a new layer in your layer panel before you start. If you were to place this directly onto the background, you wouldn't be able to move it later. So to do that, we click on the new layer icon and a new layer appears. We'll double click on the name and call it header. All right. Now at this point, we're ready to select the rectangular marquee tool. It's in the second slot on the toolbar, so click on that. If one of the other tools happens to be open, hold it down until they all appear and click on the one that you want. We then use the cursor to trace out a small selection on the project itself. You can see where that is now. The only layer that can be affected is the layer that's active. So we now need to use the paint bucket tool. Now this one's a little farther down on the tool panel. Sometimes it's hiding behind the gradient tool, so again, you can just hold down on that until you get the tool that you want. And then we have to check our color swatches. If the black swatch isn't on the top, what we can do is hit the D key, which restores the defaults. If it happened that black was the background color instead, the X key toggles between the two colors in the color swatches. So at this point, we're ready to go. The cursor will now change into a paint bucket, and so we know exactly what we're doing with it. So as soon as we click within the selection, it fills that in, but if I turn this layer off, you'll see it's only that layer that's effective. And now we need to deselect that, so Control+D. So we're now ready to add the text to the layer or the type. So we click a little lower down on the bar again, we come to the type key, and so we're gonna click that. And now our options bar gives us a few options. And what we want is a nice solid font, like the one I have selected. In this case, it's called Capitals, which was downloaded from the internet. It may not be on your computer, but find something similar. Click on that. We want to start with a fairly large size, so we're going to key in 100 points and center justify. The color of the font has reverted to our foreground color. So what we'll do is just open the color picker. You can either click on an object in your project or use the circle that appears, but we want it to be white, so I clicked on the white background. Click OK, my font color is now set to white. And just like with the selection tool earlier, I'm going to draw a selection right across the entire area. The cursor is appearing, which makes me think that the font will fit. If our font size was too large, the cursor wouldn't be blinking right now. I'm going to switch to cap locks, and I'm going to just type in my word, and it fits really nicely. So I'm happy with that, and I just click on the type layer, and that sets the type in place. You can see it looks like it's a little cut off. I just need to take that move tool, which is at the top of the tool panel, and I can now use the arrow keys to nudge that into place. Once I'm happy with the way the two of them are lined up, I'm going to hold down my Shift key so that I can select two layers at once, and then I'm going to link them in the bottom, the layers panel. So they get the little icon in their layer panel there. And now if I use the move tool, both of these will move at the same time. So it's really convenient. The rest of the text in this project is distributed throughout the poster, which means you'll have to create numerous text layers. To add to the continuity of the project, there will be very few changes to the font from space to space. I have filled in the rest of the visual layers on this project, so it's basically ready to go with just type left. I want to make a couple of comments on the layer panel. As you add new layers, they appear above the active layer. So if this was your active layer and you went to your type tool, your type would appear in your layer stack right above this layer. So be aware of that. It's generally a good idea to select the top layer and then build from there. One other comment about how layers behave. When you have layers that are 100% opacity, the top layer is over the layer below it, and that goes down through the entire stack. So you want to make sure that when you get to these white on black layers, that you have them in the right order. You wouldn't see your text if, as you see, I move that underneath. It's now underneath the black box, so you have to make sure that those layers stay in the right order as you go along. It's not as much an issue once we get into just the regular text. So with that in mind, the next layer that we're going to add is the agency name at the top. So this again is going to be large like a heading. With the type tool selected, I'm going to draw a box right across. I still want it centered. I need to change my text color to black. And I want to play with the size a bit, but I know that 18 point is going to be too small, so I'm going to start at 50. Hit enter, and I'm going to say this is from Interpol. So what I want to do is start playing with the size of this layer. That's too small. I want it to fill most of the space of the top line with a little bit on either side. So let's try 75. Just a little bigger than I want, so 70. And I'm going to go right down to 65. When I'm happy with the size of that, I'm going to click on there. Now you'll notice that's way far at the top. I want to move that a bit, so I select the Move tool, and I'm going to just nudge this down using the arrow key. You can add a separate text layer and put posting information. For example, on some of the samples you have, it says, please post in a conspicuous place. You could duplicate the logo layer and place that over here. So whatever you want to do with that space, try to keep it balanced in some way. Now we're going to add the information about his appearance. So again, we're on the top layer. I'm going to switch to the text tool. This automatically adds a new layer, and I want to fill in this space. In this case, I'm going to stretch it up from the bottom because I don't want to accidentally get on this space here, which would bring up the font that's in the title. I'm going to stick with Geneva, but this is a smaller layer, so I'm just going to go down to 18 point to start and see how that looks. I still want black. I'm going to type in cap lock appearance, and I'm fairly happy with that. And then enter. Now I'm going to switch to left justify. And you'll just now fill in, based on the samples, all of the information that's shown there, or at least that which you have you've been able to find the information for. And just fill in as much as you can, as much as you find necessary. Try to line these up. We're going to say that Thor is 7 feet tall, and so on. You just keep going with this. I'm just going to enter that much for now. And again, when you're ready with that type layer, you click on the layer, the information comes in, and once again, if you had everything in there and you needed to adjust your formatting, switch to your Move key and use your nudge options with the little arrows, and that's good to go. And one last way that you can bring text in to an object is by actually doing all of your editing in Microsoft Word first, and then using those same select all, copy all, and paste all into the other document. So we're going to start by creating a new text box down here, and I've typed up my caution. So I'm just going to create a large space. Then I'm going to bring up that Microsoft Word file that has it on there, and Control A to select all, Control C to copy, get that out of the way, back to this space, activate this program, and Control V. And you'll notice that it actually comes in the same font that I already had selected. I want to fill most of this space, so again I'm going to select the entire text, and I'm going to start playing with the font size here. So 24 is a little too big. Try 22. I'm happy with that. I click on that layer, and all my text is in place. In review, you should create a new layer for your black header. That'll be created using the Marquee and Paint Bucket tools. Once you have a text box in place, you can select your font from the options menu and get everything set up for that. When two layers are meant to stay together, it's a good idea to link them in the layer panel so that you can adjust them later. Always choose an easy to read font for your body text, and then only change the size and weight of that font. And to actually move your layers around, once they're committed into place, all you need to do is select the Move tool. It's possible but unlikely that you may get a message at times that says that a type layer can't be edited unless it's rasterized. If you get that message, go to the Layer drop-down menu, select Rasterize and type, and then you should be able to edit it.